What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Sistas on BET. This is season number 4, episode number 9, you guys. The episode was titled Counter Punch, you guys. So, before we just go ahead and get into this review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel, and you guys are not subscribed to the channel, I'm going to need you guys to do me that solid favor by stop taking me out on this date. Stop taking me out on this date, you guys. Stop taking me out on a date and having me foot the bill at the end of it. Now, you guys can do that by liking the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your post notifications, and you guys by sharing that video. Now, with that out of the way, you guys, without further ado, let's discuss Sistas Season 4, Episode 9, Counterpunch, shall we? Alright, guys, so this episode, it picks up where we left off last week. You guys remember last week that the lady came and arrested Zach, right? So in this scene, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, Tyler, this scene is not realistic, right? And the reason why I kept saying that this scene wasn't realistic is because of the fact that the woman said, Zach Taylor, who wants to know? You're under arrest, right? So the cop handcuffs Zach, right? Not one time did I hear his Miranda rights read to him. So I'm like, Zach, you said you've been arrested plenty of times, right? So you should know how the drill goes, right? That when they arrest you, they got to Mirandize you, because if they don't Mirandize you, technically you haven't been arrested. And technically, Zach hasn't been arrested. So yeah, he hasn't been arrested in my eyes. Even though he said, where y'all taking me to? Fulton County Jail, right? I think that's what she said. I don't remember. So the lady is Jake is telling Zach to calm down. I'm like, calm down. Like, dude, somebody just came into his house and arrested him, and they won't tell him why he's been arrested. They haven't read his Miranda rights, so you want me to calm down, right? So then the woman asks him, does he have any weapons on him? I'm like, you ask him if he has any weapons on him before you once again, we haven't Mirandized him. You haven't Mirandized him. Y'all, I mean, which movie was that where Madea got off on that technicality? I can't remember which movie it was, but remember, one of Tyler, and I wonder if he did that. I wonder if he specifically did that for a reason, right? Because if you guys go back, I think it was Madea Goes to Jail, right? Isn't Madea Goes to Jail where she got off on that technicality because the cops did not Mirandize her? Which I mean, I don't know what cop does that. You can be in the heat of the moment, chasing a perpetrator or whatever, but the one thing that the cops are gonna be sure to do is Mirandize a person. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But hey, let's keep going, you guys. So as they take Zach out, Zach tells Jake to call Fatima. I was like, how's he gonna call Fatima? He doesn't even know Fatima. But okay, I'm going to play along with Tyler for right now, but I'm like, how is he going to call someone he doesn't know? We're going to play with that. So then we see Fatima. So Fatima goes into Andy's office, right? And she has a cup of coffee for Andy. And she was like, how was your night? And Andy is like, she says, I love the penthouse. No shit, Sherlock, we know that. Like, Andy, y'all think that I can't, like, I know people think that Aaron is the person that I can't stand on this cast, on this show. It's not Aaron. It's Andy, and I know people think that I dislike Karen and Aaron, right? Because I go so hard on Karen and Aaron, right? I don't dislike Karen and Aaron that much. The two people on the show that I can't stand the most is actually Andy and Gary, right? And it's really more so Gary, but Andy is thrown into that equation because of how thirsty Andy comes off and how much of a bird she looks like, right? So Andy is telling Fatima that, hey, the realtor and the attorney, they're going to come down here so I can sign on it, right? Now, I'm going to put it out here how I feel about this situation with Andy, Gary, this penthouse, and this Rolls Royce, right? Girl, he bought it. It's in your name, right? Take the shit, right? Actually, with the penthouse, actually, no, I would be, actually, with a person like Gary, you got to really literally sit and think about this, right? Because you got to think about Gary, right? And you got to think about how most men are when it comes to buying things for women, right? Or anyone that they're in relations with, but more specifically, how most men operate when it comes to buying gifts for women, right? If a man buys a nice purse for a woman, a car, a house, anything like that, right? It's as if it's his possession, right? Yeah, I bought it. Yeah, it's in your name, but I have the free reign and the will to drive your car whenever I want to drive your car, come over to your crib whenever I want to come over, right? So it's like a catch 22, honestly, right? Because one side of me would be like, shit, he bought this, he put it in my name, bitch, I'm taking it, right? But then you gotta think logically and you gotta think logistically, like, okay, he bought this. There's got to be a catch. There's got to be some kind of caveat to this, right? This man didn't just buy this for me out of his own free will. And then, even if he did, there's going to be some kind of string, some kind of catch with this. These fools are literally rolling down this apartment complex with a whole ass TV. You guys will probably see them. So I'm gonna describe it. So they're in a SUV, a huge SUV, right? You guys might here they come. Do you guys see that? Income tax time is real. But like these fools are literally hanging outside of the door. It's one in the back. It's actually both guys on the back door, right? They're literally holding the TV on the hood of on the roof of the car, and they drive into this parking lot. I cannot. And they're our cousins. What was I talking about? That threw me for a loop, right? But yeah, back to Andy. Yeah, you gotta really think about it. Like, you gotta you gotta put it into perspective. Like, yes, he's bought this stuff for me, but he's gonna want something in return for it, right? And if he doesn't want anything in return for it, he's gonna think he has free will, free reign to this stuff, basically, right? So Andy says that she's a dumbass for falling for it. Ding, ding, ding. That is that is the most honest thing that you've said so far, right? So Fatima then says, "Well, I got something for you, Andy." So she goes and gets a rubber band ball, right? And she gives it to Andy, and she tells Andy like, how I got over my last relationship was with the rubber band ball. What you do is you pull a rubber band off. You think about all the bad times with them, right? For each bad time, you pull a rubber band off until you get down. If you get down to having none, that's when you let the relationship go, right? Girl, Andy needed to pull one for everything Gary has. Baby, she put one for everything that Gary has done to her. It ain't gonna be no rubber bands. It's just gonna be whatever's up under that rubber band ball. So she says, "Do you have one for Zach?" She says, "Oh, baby, I don't need one for Zach. Zach is good." So then, Fatima's gushing over Zach, and Andy's like, "You know what? You were really good with Karen the other night." She's like, I actually understand. I can get where Karen's coming from. Can you? Because I can't. So, Fatima's like, "But what we got to do is we got to wait and see who the father is." And Andy's like, "Who the father is? It's Zach." Girl, we don't know that. We don't even know that there's a baby. Like, let's stop playing that game. One, we don't know that there's a baby. Two, the timeline. I mean, there is a distinct. Well, we don't know the last time Karen and Zach had sex with each other, right? But we do know. Okay, well, technically we know, right? We know that they had sex in a broom closet, right? But at the same time, she had sex with Aaron, right? Now, it is possible. It is a slim possibility, right? That Karen could have, it really and truly what it's going to depend on is how far along Karen is, right? Because I get what Karen's trying to say, right? Yes, Aaron and I had sex, right? But if she is, because I'm thinking that Karen and Aaron have only been dating for 2 weeks, right? So if she's anywhere between, 6 to 8 weeks pregnant, then obviously it's Zach's, right? But again, I don't know what the fucking timeline is, and we're gonna move on, you guys. All right, you guys. So, in the words of my good friend on YouTube, Miss Misha, we move over to the empty bank and trust. Man, when she says the empty bank and trust, I crack up because that bank is always empty. Oh, that bank is always empty. But today they got one customer. Actually, they got two customers. We'll talk about that second customer in just a minute. But Maurice is begging Sabrina not to call the cops on Q, right? Really? Didn't I mean not too long ago he just robbed y'all, so you don't want her to call the cops? Maurice, y'all, I love Maurice, right? But Maurice is thirsty and desperate. Maurice is just as bad as Andy is, right? So she's like, "How did Q get out of jail?" He says he made a plea deal, right? Before that, she asked him, "Did he bail him out?" He says, "No." He said he made a plea deal. He read it. So then he says, Q is a good guy. He's just scared. I was like, okay, Maurice, if that's what you want to say, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I guess, but I don't know, but I mean, I guess, right? So then we move over to the airport, right? So Logan goes up to Danny's counter, right? Logan says, you stood me up. Well, my nigga, she did say she didn't want to go on a date with you. You kept harassing her and hounding her about going on a date, right? That is the thing with the men on these Tyler Perry shows. They don't know what no means, right? They're stalkers, right? They look terrible. So she apologizes to him. I'm like, what are you apologizing for, Danny? You told the man no on more than one occasion. He was the one that was adamant about going on a date with you. You said no. You said no. No meant no. He kept going, but you said yes, only to stand him up. I don't feel shit for him. I don't feel bad for him at all. Like I feel nothing for him, right? So then she says, so now will you leave me alone? He says, no, I won't leave you. I was like, oh my God, girl, scream, scream like a white woman. Scream them white woman tears. Oh my God, he's trying to, oh my God, he's trying to, like, do something like that. Scream for your life. So, and I censor myself for a reason, you guys. I censor myself for a reason. So don't be like, what? I censored myself. Um, so he asks her, who is he and what did he do to her? She was like, what are you talking about? He says, the guy that's got you so closed off and cold. She's like, because I told you no, I'm closed off because I'm uninterested in you. I was like, exactly. Like, what the fuck? Because the woman is not interested in you, she got to be closed off and cold. Nah, I just don't want to date. I don't want to go on a date with you, right? Again, these men don't know how to take no for a damn answer, right? So then he leaves and she gets a phone call from Andy, right? So Andy is asking her, what time she gets off of work. She tells her, she's like, oh, me too. You want to go out? Danny was like, you give me the penthouse? No. You want me to call the other girls? No. Oh, is everything okay? Like, girl, what the hell is going on, right? So it was in this moment, which I've always known this with sisters, that they're all best friends, right? They're all best friends, but in that best friend group, there are two sets of best friends, right? They're all collectively best friends with one another, but you can see it. Now, at one point in time, it looked like none of the girls were really truly good friends with Danny, because at one point it would just be Andy, Karen, and Fatima. Not whoosh, wrong person. Andy, Karen, and Sabrina, right? Because at one point I was like, are y'all even really friends? Especially the way that they talk, even with the way that they talk to Danny sometimes. It's like, are y'all really friends with Danny? But you see that Andy and Karen, they're best friends, right? And Sabrina and Danny are best friends, right? But like I said, as a collective, all four of them are best friends with each other because they all went to school with each other. But like I just said, Karen and Andy have a closer friendship. They're closer, and Sabrina and Danny closer, right? So Andy says that she just wants to go get some drinks and have something to eat, right? And Danny says, "Is it on you?" She said, "Yeah, it's on me." She said, "Girl, I'll see you later." She said, "Where we going?" She tells her where they're going. So we're gonna pause here. We're gonna move forward, you guys. All right, you guys. So the men of this show, true stalkers, and just don't take no for a fucking answer, right? So we move over to the bank, right? And Bow, whatever his name is, right? This fool has shown up to Sabrina's bank, right? So he's telling Sabrina that, he was going to go to every banking location until he found her. I'm like, dude, that is called a stalker. Like, you do realize that's called stalking a person, right? So he apologizes to Sabrina and he asks Sabrina out on a date, right? So then he tells her she looks like the women from his homeland, right? I was like, oh, is it the hair or is it them ugly ass clothes she got on? Probably the hair. And it could be that, because them clothes are horrifically ugly, right? So she's like, "Can I help you?" He was like, "Oh, well, I need to take some money out, right?" So she asks for his ID. He gives her his ID, right? She opens up his account, right? And she stops. I was like, why did she stop? And it showed how much money is in his account. I'm like, Tyler, now really, we could have done better than this. It's $36 million in there with 22 cents. I was like, why is it the 22 cents? I'm like, come on now. Whose account is that perfect unless you just got a direct deposit or your income tax check, right? I don't know nobody's account that's got that perfect amount of money in there unless, like I said, you got a fresh deposit. So unless he just got a fresh deposit or it's just an account that he doesn't touch. Although when Maurice came back over there, he did say he has 11. He did look at it. He says the man has 11 accounts, right? So Bow, whatever his name is, he left, right? Gave Sabrina his card. I'm like, damn. Once again, we just don't take no for an answer, huh? So he leaves, right? Maurice came over, asked Sabrina to look. He looked at the camera. He's like, "Girl, you better go out with him." She's like, "But Calvin, what? But Calvin," he says, "Drop that zero and get with those zeros, right?" Maurice is stupid. Then he tells her, you can upgrade your fashion. She's like, "My clothes are fine." No, they're not, Sabrina. Your clothes are horrible. He says, "Girl, I'll stick for $20. Imagine what I'll do for." I was like, oh my God. But I love Maurice, right? Love Maurice. So then Sabrina is talking to Maurice about the situation with Q, right? She's telling Maurice that, corporate thought that Maurice was involved in this situation with Q as basically, it was a setup, an inside job. I know where that came from. Put it in the comment section. Collusion. Baby, when they hit her with that collusion and she said collusion and she talked about how, she counted that money just the other day and got that promotion. R.I.P. to my nigga Frankie, right? R.I.P. to my nigga Frankie. Rest in peace to Frankie and Cleo. That's it. Fuck TT. For me, it's always been fuck TT. Again, if you know what that movie is, we can talk about it in the comments. But fuck TT. I need that money. I need that money. I'm in a bind, Nate. Oh, rest in peace to Nate too. Nate actually passed away. The actor who played Nate. I'm in a bind, Nate. What's the fuck when you got a gun at your head? It's over. And then Cleo, my nigga went out like a G. I'm done, y'all. So yeah. So she tells him that they thought that Maurice was in collusion with Q, right? Which we know he wasn't, right? So then we move over to Fatima, right? So Fatima is in the office. She's calling Zach, but is going to voicemail, right? And she said, I know that you're working on the house, and I'll be over there in a little bit, right? So then she goes and tells Andy, like, "Hey, Andy, I'm leaving for the day." And Andy's like, "Okay." She was like, "I was expecting for you to say, make the phone call, right?" She's like, "What do you mean? To have your stuff put back into your apartment?" And Andy was like, "Well, I've been thinking about keeping the car independent. I was like, oh my God, Andy. Granted, like I just said earlier in a review, I would be okay if Andy kept the stuff, right? I don't have an issue if Andy kept the stuff. The issue falls in place with Gary, right? I don't trust Gary. Gary is the type of, I mean, we saw what Gary did when he had the guys follow her and Karen when they were in the car. So I just don't trust Gary. And that's why I say, don't take that shit, girl. Sell that shit. Do whatever. I wouldn't keep it, right? Damn, I'm not even halfway through my notes yet. Lord Jesus, and I'm at 21 minutes. You guys, we're going to speed up so I can get through this review. I don't want it to be too long for you guys, but let's move on. All right, you guys, so next up, we are over at Karen's salon, right? So Aaron shows up to the salon, and Karen's like, well, Aaron, I told you not to, just pop up, right? So she tells him that, she called the doctor, right? And that the doctor would try to get her in. I'm like, girl, we'll try to get you in. Girl, go to the free clinic. Girl, go to Planned Parenthood. Go somewhere. We need to know how far along you are. We need to confirm if there is actually a baby inside of your stomach, right? So he tells her he knows the chief. He asks her what hospital. She tells him what hospital. He says, oh, I know the chief of staff there, so I can get you an appointment. No, Aaron. Girl, well, you know what, Karen? I'm going to let you slide for just a minute. I'm going to let you slide. So eventually he leaves, right? She tells him she'll talk to him after she goes to the doctor. So then Pam is her nosy ass. She says, girl, you better stop being nosy before you get fired, right? So Pam is looking out the window. She says, is that nigga outside crying? So Karen goes out there, talks to him. I really don't have much to say about Aaron. Like, I feel bad for Aaron, but I don't feel bad for Aaron. And the reason why I don't 100% feel bad for Aaron is because you're chasing after a woman that you know is still interested in her ex. Like, I just don't get that part, right? So then we see Andy. So Andy calls Gary, and she's asking him where her things are. He says, so you want me to move your stuff back to your apartment? She says, yes, I do, right? He says, well, the movers will move your stuff, but your clothes are still in the penthouse, right? And she says, you bought this stuff, Gary. I'm like, finally, Andy, you're coming to some common sense. And she says, you're going to feel like it's yours since you're the one that bought it. He says, no, that's not going to happen. I'm like, bullshit. So he asks her, can he come over? She says, no, Gary. I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Oh, I am almost finished with my notes, you guys. I thought I was... Y'all know I talk. I get long-winded, and it is what it is, right? So then we see Fatima. So Fatima's in the parking garage, and Hopalong is there, right? And she keeps laughing at Hopalong. So he tells her she was wrong for what she did to him. I'm like, but you're the one that's stalking her. This woman has told you she's not interested in you. She's told you your sex game was... Now, come on now. Your ego wasn't bruised when that woman told you your sex game wasn't that good. But okay. And, he feels like he's done nothing wrong. I'm like, oh, wow. So Hayden feels like he's done nothing wrong to Fatima. Okay. I mean, I guess if you say so. Then he says he doesn't see what she sees in Zach. Even if she were to break up with Zach, I would hope she wouldn't come to you because you ain't a good person. You're obsessive. You're clingy. Go on. He tells her that, they're not even. You should be. But hey, you guys, let's pause here and we're going to wrap the episode. All right, you guys. So the episode, we move over and we're going to wrap, like I said, we're going to wrap it up, right? So Calvin goes home, and who's in the apartment? Q's in the apartment. Calvin asks Q, how the fuck did you get in here? Maurice let me in, and he's going to let me stay. What? So Calvin calls Maurice, and he's asking Maurice, so you going to let Q stay here? Maurice is like, what the hell are you talking about? He says he's here. Maurice is like, I don't know what you're talking about. He says, put him on speakerphone. So he puts him on speaker. He put him on the phone. And Maurice told Q to get the fuck out, right? As much as I can't stand this storyline between Maurice and Q, I'm actually on Q's side, right? And I'm going to tell you guys why. If you listen to the way Maurice is talking, Maurice really doesn't want Q to go, but he's putting on this front, right, that he wants Q to go, but he really doesn't want Q to go. That's why I say I'm on Q's side. Other than that, I don't see it for Q. I want Q gone. So then we see Andy. Andy went over to the salon, and Pam's nosy ass is there. Girl, whose car is that? Mine. So being a lawyer gets you that kind of stuff. Oh, I like that bag. So then Karen pulls up, right? So Karen pulls up, and when she pulled up, she told Pam to go get some stuff out of the car, right? So Pam goes out there. She was like, "Oh, this car is nice. I can see myself being driven around in this car." So Karen and Andy are talking, right? So Karen is like, "So what are you gonna do about the apartment and the car?" She says, "Well, Fatima has a guy that's gonna put a bid on it, right?" And she says, "But I love the penthouse." And she says, "I understand that." She says, "But I can't keep it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna give Gary the money back, right?" And Karen says, "I agree with that. I think you should sell it." And I'm like, "Actually, I agree with that, right? Sell that shit, right?" So then, she's like, "But I'm gonna go out on a date with Gary." She's like, "Okay." And she says, and Karen says, "You're gonna call and get not Andy. You're gonna call Danny and ask her." She's like, "It's always nice to have a second opinion." Okay, okay, Andy. Okay, Andy. Okay, Andy. Okay, Andy. You guys, Andy works my nerves, really, truly. Andy is just a bird. Andy's gonna do whatever she wants to do, and I really don't care, right? That rubber band that she had, right? Because she started taking rubber bands off at one point, right? You should have took all the motherfucking rubber bands off when you thought about the fact that that man hugged you to the point that he bruised your ribs. But that ain't got nothing to do with me. This is Andy's world, and we just living in it, right? So then at the end of the episode, we see Zach. Zach is in a cell, right? So then one of the cops comes and get him and takes him to see his lawyer, right? So we see that his lawyer is this guy named Bill who is with Jake, right? Um, they ask him some questions and then they pass him this paper. We don't know what's on the paper because that's actually where the end. Because he said, "I know you got to be kidding me, right?" That was where the episode ended. All right, you guys, that's it. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. Turn your notifications on, share the video, and into the next one. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, wash your hands, wear a mask, social distance, you guys, and be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys. Love ya.